Hello, I'm Jim Deacon, and this is City Talk, a program that spotlights the departments and agencies of the City of St. Charles, their programs and services, and their staffs, the people that make it all work. You know, the conventional wisdom is that a community can't really function without an effective police department. But the reality is, and it may surprise some people, the police department can't really function without effective support from the community. And that's what we're going to be talking about on City Talk today. And we're very pleased to have with us the Chief of Police for the City of St. Charles, Randy McKinley. Randy, welcome to City Talk.
Good to be back.
And along with the Chief, we have the newly appointed crime analyst, Devlin Hutchins. Devlin, welcome to City Talk.
Thank you.
Chief, this whole business of the community is needed to help the police. That's a concept that's alien to some people. Walk us through that. Why is that so important?
It's absolutely critical. We can't police the city of St. Charles without the residents, without the visitors, without the people. They're our eyes and ears. They call the police, they talk to us, they witness things, they see things, and we need that information in order to investigate crime and prevent crime, for that matter.
Is it difficult sometimes to get people to contact you, to be proactive in contacting you?
It can be. I mean, some people are on board totally with us, but since I became the chief here about 7 years ago, I've been saying all along that we don't try to hide anything from the public. We share everything. And that's one of the reasons why I brought our crime analyst with us, so we could talk about some things that he's created to help us get information out to the public and get information from the public.
And really, that's kind of a trend we're seeing in law enforcement throughout our country, throughout society. There is a greater transparency. There is a greater openness now. I suppose that some of this, there's a greater scrutiny too, to a certain extent. But there's also this, the communication has gotten a lot better, hasn't it?
Oh yes, over the years, and especially since 2001. The communication between law enforcement agencies, federal, state, local law enforcement agencies, has just tremendously increased the communication. Back then is when we really started going to intelligence-led policing, and we started, police departments across the country have started to bring in analysts to help us analyze what's going on in our communities, when does it happen, where is it happening at, and what can we do to prevent it?
And so with that increased emphasis on interagency cooperation, the involvement of the citizens, of the community, becomes even more important, and the gap between the level of participation agency-wise and community-wise becomes more noticeable, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We are part of the community. We live here, we raise our kids here, we send our kids to school here.
Sure.
The community is ours, all of ours. And literally without the public's participation, it becomes very difficult to police a community. And this has been a transition over years and years of law enforcement. It didn't used to be this way.
And we're seeing, but there's a greater emphasis being put on it now.
Definitely.
So, Devlin, what is a crime analyst? What does a crime analyst do?
Well, I wish I had like an exciting
Right,
description.
yeah.
Or really, my job is to limit the officer's time at a computer, at their desk, command's time at their desk. It's to look at trends, patterns, and pass intelligence to the officer so they can better police the community with either it be predictive analysis, administration analysis, or intelligence-based policing.
So you provide information to not only to command, but to the actual officers on the street that help them understand trends and activity levels in different parts of the community.
Yes, sir.
How does that benefit the officer?
One of the most important things for any officer, and what I believe any resident as well, is a situational awareness. So these incidents that occur may happen throughout the city or throughout a given neighborhood, and the officer may not be aware of it, the resident may not be aware of it. So I kind of aggregate all of that information, try to scheme as much intelligent value out of it as I can, and then create a product for the officer to have on hand and within the vehicle to look at, quickly scheme what they need to do to understand for their situational awareness so they can properly assist the community.
So you provide the patrol officer with data, statistics, trends, and so on that he or she has right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, that's for the internally within the department. And of course, the departmental communication stream or channels handle distribution of that throughout the department, I'm sure, Chief.
Yes, sir.
But what about with where the public is concerned? What's available to them?
So we've actually had a really big push recently to not only be transparent, we were transparent before, but we wanted to take that to the next level and have data at the fingertips of the residents. So when they wanted information, when they wanted data, they didn't have to come into the police department or call into the police department to get that information. They would be able, from the comfort of their home, go to their desktop or go to their phone and pull it up and have that readily available information that creates that situational awareness for the resident, the potential resident, the business owner, and also a better way to gauge their public safety as well.
What kinds of information are we talking about? I'm a citizen, and I'm interested in knowing more.
So through the city site, we have the police department data hub now, and what that holds is we have various maps. The first one I'll mention is the public crime map, and what that is, taking into consideration victim safety, victim privacy, and officer safety. Any reports that we receive will be published through that in near real-time speed, so you'll be able to get it within rather quickly.
Right.
You'll be able to see any of the incidents that occur in the city of St. Charles. So you're able to jump on this application, go to your neighborhood, and see that there were thefts in the neighborhood or code violations or a burglary within your neighborhood, and you're able to scheme some information off that. You can get report number, date, time, and the approximate location of it, so you can better understand what's happening around you.
How does that benefit me as a citizen?
So I field a lot of questions of concerned residents, a resident that maybe has a specific question, a vehicle in their neighborhood, or a business owner that wants to gauge their business's safety or what's happening around them. So a resident that understands their situational awareness will be more likely to take the necessary precautions to stop maybe if it's a theft from motor vehicle, if we have, which the St. Louis region is experiencing increase of, but if they see that on a map, that their neighbor, the neighborhood, or the city has had a certain amount within the recent days, it's just better situational awareness, and they're able to take necessary precautions because they have identified a real threat, and it's not out in the ether of, oh, yes, this individual got theft from motor vehicle.
Kind of brings it closer to home.
Exactly.
So aside from crime reports, what else can the citizens learn?
So we have what our public crime mapping, and that's reports that we take. We also have something that's called Out My Window or Calls for Service Police Activity Map. And what that is, it's application that the citizen can go on, and anytime we respond to an incident, taking into consideration victim safety, victim privacy, and officer safety, they're able to see exactly what's happening and what we were called there for. If a resident sees police lights down the road, they're able to jump on there and within minutes see exactly why we responded there, so they can gauge their situational awareness of, is it just a traffic accident? Is it maybe a more critical incident that they can become aware of? And it also solves the issue of they see officers down the way, and there's, with social media and all of these other information outlets, we want to provide accurate information fast. So this is coming from the police department. So yes, information may change or it may have escalated in the situation, but this is what we received as a responding incident. So
Yeah, and it's not just when I'm at home, but you know, there have been many times as I've been driving somewhere, and I'll see a business, and there are 2 or 3 patrol units out there in front, and I'm going, oh, I wonder what's going on there. Well, now when I get home, or as long as I'm not driving, right, I can look at my phone, or when I get home, I can go online and find out what was going on.
Absolutely.
There, you know, so that, you know, it helps me as a citizen be better informed.
absolutely. And another big thing is it's not just events that occur within the last few days. We actually have a 5-year range on this data. So if you're a potential resident, or if you're moving, or if you're opening a business, or you just want to understand the crime trends in your neighborhood, you're able to select your neighborhood, select your address, and look at the 5-year incidents within that time period.
How long has this website or this information been available online?
So we went live with the Data Hub July 1st. So it's been a few months now, and we're getting pretty positive feedback and a lot of interactions with, because so we push out that information, but there's avenues within those applications for the resident to also send us information or send us concerns. We have online we have the request extra patrol. So instead of a citizen calling in and saying, hey, I'm going on vacation, or hey, there's a suspicious person, they're able to do it within the comforts of their home now, or the comforts of their mobile device. They're able to go on there, fill out a short form, and that is automatically sent to the PD. We are made aware of it. It's accountable, and PD knows that whatever the concerned resident has the issue of, we can address it.
What kind of feedback are you getting?
Great feedback. So a lot of the request extra patrols is traffic based. So individuals running stop signs, individuals speeding, they're able to quickly send out that information. Hey, I've witnessed X amount of cars down my street speeding, and now our enforcement guys can go out there, set up their operations,
right,
and say, here's what we've done to address that issue.
So we're getting positive feedback from the community so far, Chief. What's the response internally within the department? How do the officers see this?
Well, it's like anything. When there's change, it takes time.
Sure.
But the officers are getting used to it, and they're liking it. They're liking the fact that the public is sharing more information, and we're sharing more information out. So it's awesome. One of the things he mentioned is accurate information. That's a key thing. This information is coming from the police department, not from some website or social media outlet. The bottom line is an officer can get a call and go to that, and while he's there or she's there, that whole thing can change. So whatever the call came in as may not be what it ends up as.
And I would imagine that as this thing gets traction, it's going to cut down on the number of questions the officers have to answer from citizens who now already have the information. They don't have to ask the officer, hey, why was there a patrol car in front of my neighbor's house the other? I can go online and look that up.
Yes. And, you know, this is several-fold, but we also wanted to make it easier on our council people because they're fending a lot of questions that then they have to call Devlin or myself, and we have to generate a report and try to provide them information. We're hoping that a year or two down the road, when this thing's really grown legs, that nobody has to do that anymore. If you want information, all you got to do is grab your iPhone and look it up.
And so not only does it save wear and tear on the people involved, but it also is a lot more responsive for the people in the community. They don't have to wait for their council person to contact the chief, to contact Devlin, to tell the chief, to tell the council person to call them back.
Correct.
You know, we're done.
And it's much more efficient. It's efficient for the police department. It's efficient for our crime analyst. He can now concentrate his efforts on what he needs to, and it's just awesome.
It is. It sounds really great. Devlin, let's go back to you for a minute. We've talked so far about the information that the public can get from the PD. What about the other way?
So one of the big programs we have is register your camera. So your Ring doorbell camera, your doorbell cameras, any security cameras that you have on your property. We really push for residents to take part of this program. So all you have to do is say, hey, I'm this resident, I have these cameras, here's my contact information. And that's all we gain from that program. We don't access your cameras, we don't grab footage off your cameras. It's just letting us know the resident has cameras, that they're willing to look at the footage if we have an incident. So an example is if we have a theft from motor vehicle or a motor vehicle theft in a neighborhood, instead of the investigators driving down or knocking on each door and saying, hey, there was an incident down the way, you might have captured something. If you have a security camera, this lets the investigator know, okay, here's everybody within this neighborhood that has a security camera. We have witnesses that said the bad guys went this way. This resident might have caught something on their camera. And then the investigator, from the point of contact that the resident entered, contacts them and say, hey, on this date and time, you might have captured something on your surveillance footage. Can you please check for us? And it saves a whole lot of time. It saves a lot of manpower out on the streets trying to figure out which residents has security cameras.
And those security camera setups are getting to be much more common
Yes.
as time goes on. Are you getting people? Are people actually signing up for that?
Yes, absolutely. So we've seen an increase of it. We obviously would like to have that increase as well, because each of those residents that sign up is assisting an investigation, or could assist an investigation to enhance that and to get the bad guy off the street quicker. It's less time that the individual is out possibly committing other crimes, that we're able to capture that footage and possibly arrest the bad guy quicker.
And it's interesting, you mentioned earlier that on some of these reports and the mapping features of the data hub, that you've got, what, 5 years of history built into that?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive.
Yep. So we, as a police department, put out an annual report now. So you can go onto our website and see the annual report, and that breaks down every single crime statistic over a course of 5 years as well, and kind of sets the trends and patterns for the city. But what we believed was important is to even break that down further to individual addresses. So a resident can go on, enter their address in their neighborhood, and really scheme all of the crime that has been happening in their area over the 5-year period. So you're able to see the rise and fall of crime, or if a given location has a pattern, the individual is able to concern that as well.
Chief, I would imagine that as these programs, as you put it, gain legs, there are some tangent benefits to the department in terms of people's awareness of what you're doing, your efforts to get people involved. And once I've been on the data hub, or once I've registered my camera, I'm more conscious of my role as a citizen in assisting with the police and assisting me.
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do, is educate the public. So we're all in this together.
What's the big challenge? What are the challenges in an effort like this?
Well, it's getting the word out. And we're finding different ways to get the word out. Facebook, you name it. We everything we can. Our media department here at the city helps us get the information out. We talk publicly everywhere we go about our programs. But, you know, even from a recruiting standpoint, you know, new police officers are going to the website. They don't go down to HR. They go to the website. They look at everything on their phone, on their laptop, or whatever. And we're gaining, you know, when they see programs like this is the place they want to work. It really has made a difference.
Is St. Charles unique in this?
Not necessarily. I mean, some bigger departments across the nation are doing some of the things we're doing. Even locally, some of our departments are moving, what I like to say, into the 21st century. But, you know, we're doing more and more things to reach out to the younger generation. You know, it's how we communicate today.
Devlin, how did you get involved in this?
So I've worked analysis my whole career, and I'm from this area. Mm-hmm. So my goal was to get as close to home as I can and have what I do impact our community. And this position came up, and I thought it was a perfect spot to jump in and try to throw in my 2 cents and assist the community that I'm living in.
Is this your first venture into law enforcement?
It is not. I started as an intel analyst on the military side, got attached to some federal agencies, and then moved to the local police department.
How'd you get into this whole field to start with?
So right out of high school, I joined the military, fell into intel analysis there, and kind of liked the challenge of it, finding the golden nugget in all of the data and all of the mass information, finding the one thing that can assist the operation, assist the command. Really enjoyed that line of work.
What have the challenges been? But because you built this thing from the ground up, did you?
So to say, yes. I mean, the technology has existed, but rolling up all of the police data
Right.
into a digestible form for the public, it's something that we launched July 1st. In my career, one of the challenges has been command, and when I came here, that has been one of the most pushing is command. They're like, what can you do for us? What can you do for us? And it is very rare to have a command that is so progressive and embraces technology to this degree, where they openly say, what can you do? Let us see it. It's usually, okay, here's what we want, give it to us. This is go find new avenues to interact with the public to change this. It's been one of the best things about working here.
Well, and the chief talked about, anytime there's change, there's some certain element of resistance. We don't like to change. We like things the way they always were. And I guess in some departments, that's intensified at command levels. At the command level, they really don't want to change. But I think in St. Charles, what Chief McKinley has demonstrated is he's pushing the change. He's wanting to make this happen.
Absolutely. And so we've actually had the privilege of kind of showcasing what we've done here as a city on the department side. So I presented kind of our applications and how we're utilizing them state level and at the national level. And one of the main questions I get is, how did you get your command to get on board with it? Because, like you said, the change sometimes ripples to the command staff, and luckily it's an easy answer for me. They're like, I answer, my command has been on board from the get-go. They push me to kind of see how technology can assist us. So it's funny that you bring that up, because a lot of questions are, okay, how'd you get command to sign off on it?
Right.
And here, luckily, it's not that. I have to kind of try to stay in front of what command wants, because they are open and are searching for new technology to assist the community, and it's absolutely fantastic.
So you're not dragging them kicking and screaming into this thing. They're pushing you.
Yeah, exactly. They're dragging me.
That's a nice position to be in, isn't it, Chief?
It is. And at my age, and as long as I've done this and all the changes that have occurred in law enforcement, I can't help but be excited about. We're just lucky enough to have somebody like Devlin that takes it so seriously and has the abilities he has. We're able to do new things in law enforcement.
If you had your druthers, how would you like to see this thing evolve? Where would you like to see it go?
There's so many changes coming. If we think today, we haven't seen anything yet. I truly, honestly believe that. Like, another thing that's coming for law enforcement in technology is heads-up display, which we're working on right now.
Okay, talk to me about that. I don't understand what that
Heads-up display, just like if you have a car that has heads-up display and you can see the speed in your windshield.
Oh, okay.
We need our officers to be able to see everything they're doing right in their windshield, and it's coming. The technology is available. It's just expensive.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I talked a little bit about earlier, it's just important that we keep our police officers safe and we keep the public safe. So we tell people don't text and drive, but yet we ask our police officers to do 100 things in a squad car,
Really?
all while being safe and operating at high speed sometimes, doing different things. So there are things out there that are coming, and it's something to be very excited about.
Well, and it's one thing if you have a two-person car, but if you're an officer in a single unit or single person vehicle, that becomes a real challenge.
Yes, and the vast majority of St. Charles units are one-man units.
Right.
We can do two-man units. We do two-man units for training, but for the most part, we operate single-man units or single officer units,
Right.
simply because we can cover more territory.
Exactly. Devlin, I guess one of the challenges for somebody in your position is not only keeping up with, the reports that come in, keeping that data fresh and current, so on, but you also have to be looking ahead. What are the changes in technology that are becoming available, and how does that apply? Because then you're in a position to go to the chief and say, look, it won't be long before we'll be able to do this. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
So you have not only a responding role, but also a consultative role in this whole process, don't you?
Absolutely. Emergent technology is one of the big things that I try to stay up on and see what's the benefit of this emerging technology for our department specifically. It's cool to have great tools and all the neatest gadgets, but if there's not a benefit to the department or the public, then it should be looked at further. So having practical technology in the hands of our officers and the hands of our public is one of the most important things, and Command does a great job of that as well. So I'm looking at the emerging technology, but I get emails and flyers all the time saying, hey, check this out. I went to a meeting and they mentioned this. Look into this. So it's kind of and I get it from the patrol guys as well. So it's kind of a department wide mentality of this can assist us in protecting the public. Let's look at it. So
Okay.
it's really good.
So it's becoming
atmosphere.
part of the culture within the department, huh, Chief?
It has, and quite frankly, the job that Devlin does for us is an up-and-coming thing in law enforcement. Everything in law enforcement today is not a uniformed police officer with a gun and a badge. We have a lot of support staff that do things like Devlin does,
Sure.
that provide for us. It makes it a more efficient, safer environment where we solve more crime.
As the word gets out, people want to get more information. They want to help spread the word. If I belong to an organization or I have a company or a group and I want to bring this information to them, how do I get somebody from the department to come talk to me about it?
All you got to do is get on our website and let us know you're interested, because we will come and talk to anybody. We do that all the time. We go to neighborhood association meetings. We go to Rotary clubs. We talk to the public all the time, and we're more than happy to do it.
That's what it's all about, communication.
Yes.
Chief McKinley, thanks so much for being with us. Devlin Hutchins, our crime analyst, thanks for being with us and sharing all the information. And let's get the word out. Let's keep this thing going.
Okay.
That's going to do it for this edition of City Talk. Our thanks to Chief McKinley and to Devlin Hutchins for being with us this time as we talk about mutual policing in the city of St. Charles. And we'll see you next time on City Talk. So long for now.